In this edition of INN CEO Talks, I'm joined by Peter Reitano, the founder and CEO of Gwella Mushrooms. We're talking about trends in psychedelics. Peter, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
This whole world of mushrooms and psychedelics and psilocybin, it's changing quite a bit. But you're focused on microdosing. What exactly is that?
Well, you see, microdosing is taking a low or sub-perceptual dose of a psychedelic substance. So, rather than having a full psychedelic experience, all the things that you can imagine or have maybe experienced with, say, taking LSD or psilocybin, and microdose is really a small dose that you would take regularly on a schedule, more of a kind of nootropic than a full trip. And so, early on when we started work in the space, our whole ethos and mission was really about how do we build a company that was creating value, B, that was revenue generating, and C, that was focused on a different area to what a lot of the other psychedelic companies are focused on. And that most, I'd say, public companies are looking at psychedelics from a clinical standpoint. How do we take these substances and apply them to fixing or helping people with serious health conditions, whether it's depression, PTSD, anxiety, alcohol use disorder? Gwella is really focused on what we call the plus six, helping people who are, relatively well improve their lives, whether that's through kind of creativity, through wellness, through cognitive enhancement, improvement. So we're really thinking about psychedelics as a additive, what we call the betterment of the well versus a kind of pharmaceutical drug fixing sick people. And so very early on, we knew we wanted to focus on microdosing versus kind of full experience. And so our very first product was 2 years in the making, and the whole idea is, or was, how do we create a microdose experience without the psilocybin? I.e., how do we create a legal substitute for microdosing psychedelics that gives people the same benefits, all of those things that I talked about, whether it's focus, productivity, creativity, cognition, package it in a legal platform so that we can sell it legally throughout the US, throughout Canada, and throughout Europe. And so that's allowed us to build a product that adds value to consumer, but also build a product that is scalable in the same way as you would see any other direct-to-consumer brand or product. So we've been in market for a year. With that product, we've done over $1 million in revenue. We've got a really high subscription rate, over 50%. So the product's really helping people, is meaningful to people, but it's also a great kind of sticky, habitual, kind of routine-based product. And so that's been the first year. Next year, we're really expanding out aggressively into retail. We're selling in the US, Canada, but we're also now looking at Europe. We've just started selling internationally, but we're looking at a base in the UK to really expand out there. So we've laid the foundation. We know we've got good product market fit. We've got a few different varieties of the microdose gummy that we're selling, and now it's about expansion.
So, Peter, does this sector of psychedelics that you're in fall under a different kind of legal jurisdiction than when we look at the psychedelics that are used for therapeutics? And as such, does that make it so much easier for you to get to market?
It does. There's no regulatory issues for us at all. So we're not waiting for any ballot initiatives, any decriminalizations. Our product can sell now legally all over the world, and we are doing that. So there, obviously we want regulatory change, and as we see regulatory change, we'll integrate these kind of substances that are now illicit and only for clinical use. We'll integrate that into our product line. But for now, we don't have to wait for any legal changes. So it's a very scalable product that allows us to tap into the interest around psychedelics in the mainstream community.
So it seems to me that this is a little bit like to psilocybin what CBD is to cannabis. It's that byproduct that one can take on a regular basis and not have the full-blown experience, but gain great benefits from it.
I mean, that's really what microdosing, even microdosing psilocybin or LSD, we're talking about people using them as supplements, essentially. Now, people use them for all different reasons, but it's very much more akin to a wellness kind of supplement that you would see in the store versus a kind of medication. And with Mojo, if you took, Mojo is our microdose product, if you took 10 gummies, you wouldn't have a full psychedelic experience. It doesn't track linearly like a microdose of psilocybin or LSD does. So it's a very safe product, but it does work in terms of giving the kind of the same experience that the low dose of psilocybin or LSD would.
I was reading something that said microdosing mushrooms could replace coffee. How does that work?
Well, I mean, people are using it, like I said, for all sorts of reasons. They're using it, for to treat kind of minor mood disorders. But like I said, focus, energy, creativity, cognition, all of these things are what people are microdosing for. And with Mojo, our gummy, we do have small amounts of stimulants in the gummies. So we have cordyceps sinensis, which is a type of mushrooms. We have some slow release caffeine. And so you get that same alertness and pick me up that you do with coffee through our product. Now, I caveat all that, I don't think coffee is going anywhere. Incredibly popular drink. I don't think people just drink it for the caffeine, although that's a big part. It's kind of part of the ritual. So I've personally never been a big fan of the mushroom coffee kind of replacement type narrative or product line. I just see these as kind of in supplement to it, so you can still enjoy your your cup of Joe in the morning, but microdosing to me is kind of a supplement to it. So for me, I'll have my cup of coffee in the morning, and then around 11 o'clock, I'll do I'll take a Mojo gummy, and that gets me through the rest of the day. A really nice kind of focused, productive feeling without any jitters that a lot of people experience with coffee, and certainly no crash, because we have what are called mood modulators in the gummy that kind of help stabilize as the caffeine starts to wear off.
So let's go back to revenue right at the moment. You said you're already selling. What are your annual revenues right now?
We're over 1 million now.
Over $1 million. How do people buy it?
So you can go to mojo.shop. That's the URL. And you can buy it, like I said, internationally. If you're in the US, you can buy out with the US or Canada, you can buy it on Amazon.com. So we're selling on Amazon. We're selling it direct through our website, mojo.shop. And then in the US, we're also in about 35 different retail stores, statewide. And that's a big focus for us next year. We want to be in major retailers across the US, Canada, and the UK. But for now, if you go to mojo.shop, you'll be able to find it.
So what's your strategy moving forward? Are you just going to build from revenue, or are you going out to the investment community to say, get behind us and allow us to really capture this market?
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky in that we're one of the few psychedelic companies, psychedelic adjacent companies that are generating revenue in the short term. But we are a kind of high growth venture funded company. So to date, we've raised a couple of $1 million from some really great institutions and individuals. All of the major psychedelic funds are represented on our cap table. Whether that's Palo Santo, Ambria, Conscious Fund, Vine Ventures, Vice Ventures. So we've got a great group of people behind us that believe in our story. But we're also, raising additional capital to help with that expansion going into 2023. So we're just now starting to open up a round that will we'll circulate some information around for anyone that's on our newsletter. And if you want to get on that newsletter, you can head over to meetgwella.com. That's our kind of business focused website where you can sign up. But we will be opening up an additional raise and financing to help accelerate the growth plan next year. And then ultimately we see that kind of path to going public ourselves.
But that's a couple of years out then before you would go public.
Yeah, and we're pretty glad we're private right now. I mean, we'd explored it previously, but obviously the market is a little bit chaotic right now, and certainly the psychedelic biosector has not been performing fantastic, and so we're pretty happy. We're just quietly building a great company, generating revenue, getting some people behind our story, and then when the timing's right, we'll make that move.
So, what is your pitch, I guess, to investors right at this moment? They're going, okay, if I'm buying in, I've got to have patience. What's what's in it for them right at the moment to say, okay, I want to know more information and take a look at this?
We think we're going to dominate the mainstream market for psychedelics. We think the total addressable market in psychedelics is going to be found in wellness. We think really the where we're at right now, treating sick people with psychedelics is really the thin end of the wedge in terms of what regulators will accept, what society will accept, what these substances can actually do, and then ultimately the total addressable market. We think the wellness market is huge. Using them in the ways that I've described, and so we think we can be a behemoth in the space, and we're building that platform right now. So we're really in the first innings. We've got off to a great start, generating revenue. We've got a great product pipeline, and we know what we've got's working. Going into next year is really foot on the gas time. So getting in now would mean getting in on the ground floor before we accelerate all of those growth plans.
Well, it sounds like a very, very interesting sector that you're in, and I wish you great success. I like seeing companies that are originating here and taking on a global, I guess, aspirations might be the best way to put that.
That's right. Well, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.